The story of Samson begins with a miraculous event. In a time when the Israelites were under Philistine oppression, a man named Manoah and his barren wife lived in Zorah. One day, an angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife, announcing that she would conceive a son despite her infertility. The angel gave specific instructions. The child was to be a Nazirite, consecrated to God from birth. As part of his vow, he was not to drink wine or any fermented drink, eat anything unclean, or cut his hair. This child, the angel declared, would begin the deliverance of Israel from the Philistines. Manoah, upon hearing this news, prayed for further guidance. The angel appeared again, confirming the instructions and emphasizing the importance of the Nazirite vow. Manoah and his wife offered a sacrifice, and as the flames rose, the angel ascended in the fire, leaving them in awe. True to the angel's word, Manoah's wife bore a son and named him Samson, meaning like the sun. From a young age, Samson was blessed by the Lord, and the Spirit of God began to stir in him, marking him as a chosen instrument for divine purposes. Samson's extraordinary strength was a direct result of God's Spirit working through him, a physical manifestation of his Nazirite dedication. His first recorded act of strength occurred when he was traveling to Timnah to arrange a marriage with a Philistine woman. On the way, a lion attacked him, but he tore it apart with his bare hands, an act so effortless that he didn't even tell his parents. Later, on his return to Timnah, he found bees had made a hive in the lion's carcass. Samson scooped out honey and ate it, sharing it with his parents but not revealing its source. This act, though minor, foreshadowed his tendency to disregard the sacredness of his vow. Touching a dead body violated his Nazirite status. Nonetheless, God continued to work through him, showing that divine plans can prevail even through flawed individuals. Samson's strength became legendary, culminating in feats such as single-handedly defeating 30 Philistines to settle a wager and later killing 1,000 men with the jawbone of a donkey. His strength was not merely physical but symbolic of Israel's potential under God's power. Samson's relationships were often fraught with conflict and betrayal. His marriage to a Philistine woman exemplified this. Despite his parents' objections, he insisted on marrying her, saying, "She is right in my eyes." This choice reflected his impulsive nature and his disregard for Israelite laws against intermarriage with pagan nations. However, the Bible notes that this was part of God's plan to confront the Philistines. During the wedding feast, Samson posed a riddle to the Philistine guests, wagering clothing as the prize. When they couldn't solve it, they coerced his wife into revealing the answer. Enraged by their deceit, Samson killed 30 Philistines to pay the wager and left his wife in anger. When he later returned to reconcile, he discovered she had been given to another man. This betrayal fueled his wrath, leading him to burn the Philistines' crops by releasing foxes with torches tied to their tails. Samson's relationships highlight his vulnerability to manipulation and his struggle to reconcile his personal desires with his divine calling. These tensions set the stage for his ultimate downfall. Samson's confrontations with the Philistines escalated into a series of revenge-fueled battles. After the burning of their crops, the Philistines retaliated by killing his former wife and her family. In response, Samson struck them ruthlessly, further deepening the cycle of violence. Seeking refuge, Samson hid in a cave at Etam. The Philistines pursued him, pressuring the men of Judah to hand him over. Reluctantly, they bound Samson and delivered him to the Philistines. However, as they approached, the Spirit of the Lord empowered him, and he broke free of his restraints. Grabbing the jawbone of a donkey, he slew 1,000 Philistine men in a stunning display of divine strength. After this victory, Samson was physically exhausted and cried out to God for water. God miraculously provided a spring, showing that even in his moments of arrogance and independence, Samson relied on divine provision. These episodes demonstrate God's faithfulness, even when Samson's actions were driven by personal vendettas rather than a sense of justice or obedience. Samson's most infamous relationship was with Delilah, a Philistine woman who became his undoing. The Philistine rulers, eager to eliminate him, bribed Delilah with silver to discover the secret of his strength. Using her charm, she repeatedly coaxed him into revealing the source of his power. 3 times, he gave her false answers, and each time she tested him, the Philistines failed to capture him. However, Delilah's persistence wore him down. Finally, he revealed the truth. His strength was tied to his uncut hair, a symbol of his Nazirite vow. While he slept, Delilah had his hair shaved, and the Lord's Spirit departed from him. When the Philistines captured him, they gouged out his eyes and imprisoned him, forcing him to grind grain in humiliation. Samson's fall from grace was marked by his blindness and enslavement. Yet, in this dark period, his hair began to grow back, symbolizing the potential for renewal and God's enduring purpose. While he was physically broken, Samson's spirit turned back to God in repentance. His imprisonment served as a humbling reminder of the consequences of his actions and the importance of relying on God. During a Philistine celebration honoring their god Dagon, Samson was brought out to entertain the crowd. Placed between 2 pillars in the temple, he prayed to God for strength one last time, saying, "Let me die with the Philistines." God granted his request, and Samson pushed the pillars apart, collapsing the temple and killing himself along with thousands of Philistines. This final act of sacrifice brought a measure of deliverance for Israel and underscored the redemptive power of God's grace. Despite his flaws, Samson fulfilled his divine purpose, reminding us that God can use even the weakest and most broken individuals to accomplish his will.